Everyone see the PowerPoint? Okay, my screen's done something funny. Yeah, okay, great. So thank you so much everyone for coming today. It's fantastic to have so many people here just for a chance to think about what YPI is looking like this year. There's obviously with COVID, there are challenges, there are differences, but hopefully still a really meaningful opportunity for your young people, and arguably even more important to give them a mechanism to talk about social issues. And in terms of grant making, for us, it's obviously really a valuable opportunity to make grants to small local charities who are very, very much in need right now. So I'm not going to say any more than that for the moment because I'm conscious of Colin's time. So Colin is at Dunoon Grammar School. They had their final on Tuesday. So I thought it would be really useful to hear what Colin's experience of delivering upon the programme and getting to a final this year, and what a remote final felt like. Successes, challenges, things he might do differently. I thought it would be useful to just hear that context from somebody who's already done it. So I'm not going to say any more, but hand over to Colin to kind of take you through that just now.
Okay, so obviously, like a lot of you, this year we couldn't go out and visit the charities, so we just did the contact through email, through telephone, etc. And we did, as we normally do, our class finals. So we had 7 second-year classes, our whole second-year group do it. And we did 7 finals, and then we had kind of a mixture of members of staff judging the finals to decide the 7 finalists. Traditionally, we do our final in the school forum, which is a big, our kind of big kind of lunch hall kind of idea. And we were originally going to have the whole of S2 down viewing the final. In previous years, we had the S1 pupils down as well. But we decided just to go for the S2 pupils. But once I had booked the venue and started to arrange things, I met my head teacher to talk through a few things. And he decided that with things being as they are, that it would be best not to have the second years viewing it as a crowd. So I had to basically, with a couple of weeks left, turn everything around. We decided that instead of having the second years viewing it, we would record basically a kind of highlight reel of the final. So a video from Lynn introducing, videos from the charities, clips of the presentations, and a kind of reveal at the end. So instead of the pupils finding out on the day who won, it's Tuesday coming, they're going to watch a video in their classes and they'll find out who the winner was. So as we didn't need the big hall anymore, we decided to go for a slightly smaller location, which was our assembly room, which is upstairs, a kind of smaller carpeted room. And the only people present were the finalists. So the only people watching the presentations were the second years who were the finalists, plus Mr. Mitchell, the head teacher, and Miss Stewart, the deputy. So we had 2 judges in person, and we had the finalists viewing the presentations. We had already arranged for some of our head of service in Argyll Bute and some of the local councillors, plus Lynn and Lindsay from YPI, to come and watch the final. So we weren't allowed to have them in person. So I decided to set up Google Meet. So I just set that up in my Google Calendar for the Tuesday afternoon, and Lindsay, Lynn, and all the judges joined virtually. Lynn chaired the judges briefing, so she kind of teed all the judges up. So we had the 2 in-person judges watching the presentations, and we had to set up a laptop on the middle computer. So the laptop with the Google Meet setup was facing the pupils, so the external judges could see the presentations. So we had the projector up on the big screen. We went through the 7 presentations, and then the judges deliberated to decide. The judges were very impressed with the presentations, and there was a lot of creative aspects, so things like skits and role play and videos they created, and some just really emotional responses from the pupils. The main, yes, as you know, I I had one of the teachers in science who was a really big help. He recorded the presentations and he's helping to cut together a video, which we're going to show next week. The only real thing that was an issue on the day was, I think it was just a particular laptop, and there was an issue with the video. So some groups were showing some YouTube videos and some external clips. I had them all set up. They were all working. As soon as the presentation started, you moved from the PowerPoint onto the videos. The videos came up saying, something's not working, you need to restart your computer. So luckily, we were recording it, not in a live crowd. So we basically paused, sorted it, and got back on it. There was still the odd wee issue with the videos. I think it was the laptop and nothing in particular. So I would definitely recommend doing a dry run through with the exact computer you're using in the exact venue. I didn't have that liberty because I had to book a room which is used as a kind of behaviour base. So it wasn't that easy to get hold of. So that's sort of it. I've maybe missed some things, but I'm sure I might pick some stuff up from questions that may be asked. That's me.
Does anyone want to take the time then, either typing them in or verbally coming off mute, and to ask Colin while we've got him here any questions about how it felt, what you might do differently next, you know, if there's any kind of things that you're thinking about as you're planning for your final, this is, I suppose, an opportunity to really pick his brains. And do you have anything in particular?
I could probably kick off with a quick question, Colin. Thanks for your input. It was really interesting to hear how the process compared to sort of previous experiences. Did you have to do anything different with your young people to prepare them for the way that they presented this year in comparison to maybe how they would have presented in past YPI finals?
Okay, so this was my first year really being in charge of it, because my old principal teacher is doing a secondment for 2 years, so I'm sharing the job. So this is my first time organising it.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing would be I did a run through in my own classroom, which I kind of wish I'd done it in the room that I was presenting in, but it's hard because it's not like an empty room. It's used every day. So I thought I'll just do the rehearsals in my class for a run through of the presentations. The main thing is, if you're doing it through a Google Meet, you have to make sure that the screen, the pupils, and any extra things they're doing are within the sight of the laptop. So it was a case of sometimes stopping them and getting them to reposition themselves or move closer or further away. I think when we started the presentations, a few of the judges couldn't hear very well, so we had to get them maybe to move a bit closer. And it's just a bit encouraging the pupils to speak a bit louder. And they have to really, if you're using a laptop, just turn the laptop towards the pupils, but you had to really make sure they were speaking to the laptop, because we found if you were off the sides, you couldn't actually hear what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the main ones. Yeah.
Is there, I just wonder whether, because I've been chatting a little bit about the opportunities for kind of live streaming finals previously, and we were just speaking about maybe the value in having one of these kind of cheap microphones that you can sort of plump in the middle and it picks up the sort of sound from all around. I know that the team at eSchool have used those for their kind of live teaching within classrooms and so on, and it means that, so as you say, I think a lot of the Google Meet and Teams and so on, they're designed to pick up the sort of exactly what's being spoken directly to the computer. So I think that's really interesting. That I had wondered if maybe having this sort of the laptop a bit further away might have been a bit of a challenge. So that's really interesting just to hear that, and that's maybe something that others can kind of consider.
As long as you positioned it in the right place, that you could see the pupils, you could see the screen, as long as they stayed within a certain perimeter, then it was actually okay.
That's really good to know.
As long as they kept their voices high up. But Lindsay was obviously watching it. I was there, so she might have a better indication of how it sounded.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was like you say, the first group, maybe it was just they were the hardest to hear. I think once then they realised that they needed to speak up, the other groups absolutely did that. And I think one thing you did, Colin, that was really useful was to send the presentations in advance to all the judges. The main benefits there was when viewing the videos, they maybe weren't as clear because you couldn't see them as clearly on the screen in terms if there was text and things. But if you had them in advance, it allows the judges to kind of see that in advance. So that was really beneficial. And it also was a bit of a safety net as well if technology playing.
That was my main worry was the Google Meet, because I'd never really done anything like that before. But I'm glad that sending the videos helped, and I would recommend that people do that the day before.
And did you have a question?
Yeah, Colin, I'm the YPI facilitator for Murray, and I've got 3 schools up in Highland. So one of the concerns that's been coming in my direction is really the IT issues for you know, the preparation for, you know, charities and this kind of thing, because some of the schools don't have complete access, you know, to IT in even in classrooms. How did you cope with that? Or have you all got laptops, you know, the pupils, have they all got?
I'm a business teacher, so we're a faculty business and computing, so all of our classrooms have 20 computers, so it wasn't really a thought for me. It would be, because I know other subject areas deliver YPI as well sometimes, so I think it is I don't know what kind of, how many pupils are you doing it with? Or
well, it varies, you know, from some quite large schools to smaller ones, sort of thing, you know. So, but then, and did you actually do it with sort of teams of 2 or 4, or, you know, how many did you have?
4 is our average, and that's what we normally aim for. But there's always variations in an individual class. Do you know what I mean? There's sometimes you get a 2, sometimes you get a 3. I usually try for no more than 4, because 5, I don't like groups of 5. They can get a bit messy, I think.
Right, okay. And you made no difference this year compared with other years?
It was a bit rubbish that they couldn't get out to view the charities, because I basically just decided no visiting the charities and nobody visiting, because we're not allowed visitors, and I didn't really want the risk of people going out to the charities. So that was a big bit, but they found ways around it. So it's been challenging, but it shows that it can still happen, even if the circumstances aren't great.
Colin, there's a question from John in here that it's kind of drawing on what we were speaking about at the start potentially, but just interested to hear about how the experience felt for pupils. For example, did they feel closer to the issues than potentially normally they would? Were they kind of making sense of the impact of COVID, etc.? And I know you reflected on some of the people in the final that maybe would not normally be engaged. So I don't know if there's some reflections there.
As I said, there's 7 different classes, and I was only teaching 1. So apart from giving them advice and getting them teed up for the final itself, I didn't really work with the majority of them at the start when they were choosing the issues and things like that. So I think it was clear from the presentations that the pupils were really caring about it. And it is difficult. Like, when we were doing the class work, we were a bit concerned about this particular year group, just in terms of other issues, but the judges and Anne Patterson seemed to think that they were really high standard, which is really good. Also, the pupils, the more years you do YPI in a school, the pupils are already aware of it from the year before. And I remember there was the pupils that were asked about the careers in healthcare, and they gave a really nice speech. One of the boys gave a really nice wee speech about how he doesn't want to go into that career, but he sees kind of how important it is. And I don't know if you remember that one boy. Yeah. So.
And I think, I don't know, that's maybe something to mention on is the question and answers as well. I think when we've had 2 finals now, and that opportunity has been really invaluable, and it always is, I find, in any way at a final, but I think it sometimes allows that extra passion to come out. So I think, how do you feel the sort of question and answer sort of added to it, and would you encourage others to try and factor that in?
Yeah, I think they should definitely do that. The one thing I noticed is I don't think every group had a question in our final, so it'd be good if the judges, if they made sure every group was getting a question, because if some groups get a question and some don't, then it puts them at a slight disadvantage maybe, because they don't get to add that wee bit of extra thought at the end.
That's maybe something that we can take back, Colin, just to think about how we prepare the judges. So Anne, that you were speaking to just now, Anne is the equivalent of Lynn in her region of Scotland. But we could certainly maybe take that back in terms of supporting our team to then brief the judges if there are going to be questions. Obviously, we know some schools aren't able to offer the opportunity to ask questions live, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes they get the chance to sort of add that little bit of extra information that might be useful. So yeah, no, really, really good point.
Yeah, and you don't want some pupils to have an advantage over the others in that sense.
Yeah.
Some groups, someone was talking about live streaming it. Like, obviously we've done finals live in the past, but I don't know, because we obviously we recorded it and pulled the best bits together. It would I would personally feel quite nervous doing it like live online for the first time. So I don't know if they maybe want to consider doing the kind of video idea and just kind of pulling together the footage.
Sorry, has anyone in the room thought about doing a live screening of the final out of interest? Has that been on anyone's radar? Celia, you're going, no. No, not being something. No, I'm
seeing a few looks of fear. Does anyone want to talk about why that appears scary, or what your kind of own thoughts are? Celia, do you want to pick up on any of that?
I think my initial fear would be the lack of reliable technology. We're having massive problems with bandwidth and access to Teams and all sorts in our school, and I would not really feel confident enough that the technology would support live streaming at the moment. I would like to think that the pupils would respond positively to the fact that they were being streamed live and wouldn't take the opportunity then to maybe pull a few practical jokes, but I'm fairly confident we could trust the kids, but it would really be the technology would let us down, I think.
The other thing that is worth kind of highlighting, so we've seen two different versions of finals that look and feel quite different. So Colin's was filming a final with young people standing up and delivering their presentations live, but and then showing their videos. The other one that we saw was the young people had to produce a digital package that was pre-ready, and that was their presentation. And then on the day, the live section was just the question and answers. So, there's something to consider there on whether you want young people to kind of stand up and present, or is the challenge, if there is concerns about the capacity to do that, is the step back from that, having them produce their whole presentation as a digital package. But then if we're doing that, I think there's still real merit in being able to talk to the young people, because that's where sometimes you can really tease out the passion, the commitment. If there's a question, that's where you can iron all those out. And that's, both were effective, both were in very different contexts. The first one was in an ASN context, but just kind of different ideas of how the final might look and feel, pending capacity, school, technology challenges, things that you might be dealing with. So that's like another format that you might want to consider as well.
Just out of interest, in terms of the people that we've got on the webinar today, what are you thinking about around judges and kind of internal or external judges? Do any of you have strong feelings as yet on what your judging panel might look like, and any kind of concerns about how you might be able to mix that up or make that kind of representative in the way that you ordinarily would? Does anyone want to chip in with any thoughts around that piece?
I think at the moment our plan is to use internal judges as far as possible. Our school is steering clear of external visitors, so we're looking to try and get somebody from senior leadership and somebody from the head team and possibly a guidance teacher. We're also considering the possibility of drama involvement as well, but by and large trying to keep a cross-section across the school community, but keep it internal. Certainly we've got heats coming up in the next few weeks, and then our final will be later. Things might have changed by the final, because we do our year group comes in sort of two half sessions. So the first half session finishes at the beginning of December, and then the next lot will take it up until sort of May. If by April, May time, the situation with inviting people into the school has changed, then we would just revert back to the original plan, get the charities in, get the counsellors in. If we can do that, that's ideal. But if not, then we'll probably just stick with internal judges, I think.
Fantastic. Okay. So, Colin, I'm conscious of your time. How are you for getting back to your other job?
I'm not major. I'm 5:30 I start, so
Okay.
I can stay a wee bit longer if anyone has any questions.
Okay, conscious of that. So does anyone have anything else that they would like to pick Colin's brain about? Michelle, have you got something?
Yeah, I was going to ask Colin, did you say that you got your charities to do a kind of online meet with your kids? Because before we've always just had them phone, but obviously now this year, I think everybody's a wee bit more on board with meeting up digitally, and I think perhaps some charities could meet with the kids. How did you go about that?
We discussed it as a department. We just stuck purely to phone calls and email. We did think about virtual meetings, but there was just the coordination of it, because you couldn't really have a meeting with one charity when you've got all the other young S2 pupils in the room, because it'd be a bit possibly disruptive. And we're kind of like discouraged from having kids in at lunchtime and after school. So that, plus the issues with Zoom in schools, and just, yeah, we just decided it's an idea and it's something maybe to think about for next year, but we just thought to keep things manageable, we would just stick to proper phone calls and email.
Yeah.
We didn't actually do
Has anybody considered virtual meets this year? Does anybody else think?
I think Yvonne, is that something that you're looking at? Are you okay to come off and explain a bit about what your plans are?
Yeah, we're not starting ours till after Christmas, but at the moment we've just kind of been looking at how we're going to do it and how it's going to work. So we are lucky that in humanities we have got a stack of iPads. So I'm just kind of hoping that through that, whether it's through Zoom or I bring my laptop in or whatever, and if the kids do want to and the charities are happy to do like a Zoom meeting or Teams or whatever, if they can try and arrange that maybe during a lunchtime so that it can be supervised by us as well, just so we can kind of keep an eye on it and stuff as well. And because as you guys are saying, that everybody seems to have kind of embraced it this year, and it's something that people are a bit more comfortable at doing than they would have probably before. And if that's going to work for everybody, I think having that face-to-face, even if it's across a computer, is maybe a bit better than just the emails and the phone calls and stuff. But we'll see who wants to do it. I mean, we're not going to necessarily force it on the kids, obviously, but if any of them are particularly wanting to do that, I'm happy to let them. But as I say, try and organise it for at a time when they can get a bit of peace and quiet to do it. But we can also kind of be there to just, or one of us can be there to just kind of keep an eye on what's being said and stuff as well. So we're hoping, as you're saying, obviously again, issues with bandwidth and computer, internet and things like that, but technology gods allowing, then hopefully we'll be cool with that.
One example that we've really observed was from Lenzie Academy, and what they're doing, I think, instead of the sort of virtual meetings, they're getting charities to film little inputs about what they do. To be fair, that's probably more for the earlier research phase, but they're asking charities to almost film just a little input, or if they can't film an input, to send an information pack, so that in the kind of research phase, that'll allow the young people to kind of get a feel for those charities. And they're using Flipgrid, something that's very new to me, but to kind of, the charities can all upload their videos to there, and then they can play them back to the young people. The other thing that I've spoken about with other schools and other charities is doing a question and answer session with a charity. So if you know you've got a lot of people who are interested in a particular charity, rather than trying to coordinate 6 meetings, getting all those young people, if it's possible with the social distancing, I appreciate there'll be considerations there, but to kind of have a one session with that charity, just being mindful of their time and your capacity to kind of set it up as well. So that's a few things that I've heard have been working well so far. Is anyone else kind of, in terms of the charity engagement, is there anything else that anyone's doing, or any other questions around kind of maximising that aspect of the programme this year? The one thing that I was going to say as well is, Colin, in terms of listening to your final, what I would say is that I don't feel it detracted from the young people's sort of relationship with the charity. I still felt that was really coming across, even though they'd obviously just been using phone and email. There was still a real connection, I felt, in a lot of the teams, and a passion for that charity, having just done the research without that face-to-face. It's obviously desirable, it can help, but I didn't feel it was particularly lacking from the groups at your final either, so that's something to bear in mind.
Yeah, the feedback we've had from the judges was that the presentations were of obviously different year groups are different, but people that have done it for years, like Anne had said that she was really, really impressed with the quality. So yeah, it's obviously part of the experience of the program, so it is a bit of a shame, but there could be scope when things do, I don't want to use the term go back to normal because it's cringy, but we could maybe arrange for this year's YPI groups to go and visit the charities in the future, like near the end of the year. I
think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, just around that sort of legacy piece, and trying to keep those relationships ongoing. I think that could be really valuable.
I put my email address. I don't know if I posted it publicly or not publicly. I just put it in there in case anyone wanted to ask anything.
There we go. I'll just pop out to everyone. There we are. Great. So that's Colin's email address, and Colin, we'll let you go and get ready for job number 2.
Unless there's any final queries. The cat was coming to say goodbye, but he's going away again. Right. Yeah, I went ahead and get organised, but if anyone does have any questions, just send me an email on that address if you've got any queries.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Colin. I think it's really useful just to hear that kind of hear firsthand from someone that's got to that final and that grant's been awarded, which is fantastic and really.
It is a good relief when it's over as well. Though something we've also decided to do just before I go, I'm quite keen to do a sort of formal, calling it YPI assessment. So we put together a kind of 10-question assessment on like charity social issues, but also the kids' experience in terms of their skills, etc. So I'd be happy to share that if anyone wanted to do a bit of summative assessment on their YPI journey.
Great. So Colin, the easiest way might be could you drop that to us, and then we can disseminate out. Is that? Yeah,
I'll just send it to you. It's nothing special, but we just wanted to do something formal to kind of end the process, because it is like a unit of work. So we thought it'd be nice to, and I thought I could maybe share some of the reflections with yourself and Lynn, and so you can see what the kids are saying.
That'd be really good. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
So we can do that.
Well, thank you for your time, Colin. We really appreciate it.
I hope everyone's finals go well, and we'll hear all about it.
Thanks so much. Okay. Great.